Well, welcome to the Beyond Cinema studio up here at Tiff, Aron, Gita, Aidan. As you know, I loved the film. Congratulations on it and having made that transition from your docs to your first narrative feature.
Yeah, thanks.
Was your documentary work always going to be a stepping stone to this, or was it an opportunity that was too good to refuse?
Yeah, I think we always saw it as a stepping stone. Both of us come from a television news background, so a documentary seemed much more doable and sort of like a bridge to narrative filmmaking. So I think we always thought, you know, we'll go into documentary, it's like a longer news story, and then we'll transition to narrative.
The documentary was such a wonderful tool for us because we could really find the authenticity in our narrative film that worked really well. If we didn't have that documentary background, I think it would be much harder.
Yeah. And how much time did you give yourselves on this project in terms of finding all this talent and then the actual shoot itself?
Yeah.
I mean, it took us a year and a half just to research and write, and then casting took maybe like a couple months or something, and then we shot. We were up in northern Maine for 3 months and shot like 35 days over 2 months. So it's kind of a longer shoot for a movie this size, but that was another thing coming from documentary. We wanted time to just explore with the actors and find that authenticity. So we didn't want it to be one of those like 17-day shoots, you know.
Is moose chasing so personal to you that you had to set it in Van Buren? Or?
You can't chase a moose with only 17 days, I'll tell you that.
But why
you need some time.
So why is Van Buren the place for you? Could anyone have enticed you away from there?
Well, I grew up in Maine, but I think we were drawn to, we saw some photos of a potato harvest in northern Maine, and we just drove all over northern Maine to all these little towns, and Van Buren kind of jumped out at us. In
terms of these guys, in terms of Aidan, Emery, Callan, the rest of the team, they all come from all over the place.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that as you were assembling, or you just kind of, you know, why did you want to bring this kind of collective of nations basically into this town?
Yeah, I mean, I think really first we had an amazing casting director who came on board to help us cast, and I think that was a key asset for us, was figuring out finding the right talent who, wherever they were in the world, that could really play the character well and explore with us and go on a journey of exploration and make it as authentic as possible. And so someone like Aidan is a perfect example of being able to stretch his creativity to work with us and find opportunities there.
And his, no, I'm not going to say it.
What are you going to say?
No.
He's a Ferrari.
Oh, no.
But that's a cool thing too. I mean, if you have like a dream list of people to work with, obviously there are a couple of faces that are familiar to fans of The Wire or The Good Wife, or
and we were fans of The Wire.
Yeah, like some of the best shows on TV, and so and then some of the younger actors to support them have been doing some incredible work lately too. For you, Aidan, as Clayton, and having Emery, you know, as your kid in the film, and having this kind of team of kids around, like, what was it? How did you guys spend any time together? I know it's not a conventional relationship.
I had a window of time which wasn't very long at all. It was 10 days or something like that. I was working on something else. Game of Thrones, actually, who graciously let me off, you know, cleared me for 10 days. So I just had to come in and shoot the stuff. They'd already been shooting for about 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something. So I was dropped, you know, just straight in. There wasn't time for rehearsals or any of that stuff. I don't particularly like rehearsing for film. You know, a lot of the stuff that was happening on there was just happening for real for the first time, which is just more interesting anyway.
I think it kind of worked because you were coming into his life again in the movie. So
yeah, so that was okay. Also, we were living at quite close quarters to each other. You know, when we were shooting this thing, we were all living in the same building, you know, eating together, sharing rooms and stuff. So, you know, you immediately became familiar with everybody. It wasn't really an issue that I hadn't, you know, been there from the start or that we hadn't rehearsed. I mean, Aron and Gita's style is that they, you know, left plenty of free space for a bit of, you know, improv here or there. There's lots of moments in the film that are just things that just happened right there and then, which kind of certainly add life.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't know any of the other actors, so but the energy that was going on by the time I got there was, you could really feel it.
Yeah. And
you know, you just wanted to jump on the train.
Have you seen the film as well?
I have seen the film, yeah.
And like, are you good at being objective about watching stuff?
Not
you
really. Yeah, I mean, I look at it a couple of times, and then I'll never look at it again. But I thought it was good.
Yeah. Not he's a sweet man, Clayton. A very sweet, personal, huggy, loving.
Yeah, well, look, we were kind of going after that. I don't know what you had in mind. I don't know if it was particularly written as a kind of nice, fatherly guy, but that's what it, that's the way I. When I read it, I thought,
we definitely didn't want it to be one of those like movie villain type things. It was like a real guy that is doing something to survive, type of thing, like a businessman.
And I think the Kittens added an element of like a love for it, and it's like you want everyone to have a compassion and love in some way, but whether it be a wife or a husband or a kitten in a relationship, you wanted to show like some sort of thing that humanizes him, so he doesn't become the villain.
And we know what he's doing does have repercussions and grim repercussions, for a number of people.
Yeah.
We know that. Didn't have to, overspell it out. I just wanted to try and play an appealing character, somebody that the son would want to hang out with when he came back into his life. Would want to spend time with, and that just seemed the way to go.
Yeah, and there's real people in that community that are doing that kind of stuff, and they're just members of the community. They're not, so we didn't want to like blow it up too much and make it into this sort of movie bad guy. It's just like he's a guy.
Yeah, there's a line in the film actually. It was like, that you're killing flowers to grow potatoes, basically. So, for you guys, while making the film, did you ever have to kind of kill a proverbial flower to grow a potato? Were there things that looked kind of...
I think we killed a lot of flowers.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of themes in the movie that relate to the potato harvest, that when people watch the movie, they'll take away kind of some themes. We really did feel like the relationship between the teens really did feel very much like kind of the process of potato harvesting.
There was a lot of, in the credits, a lot of like product that you guys had in the film. I mean, obviously the Terra Chips truck was there, and that makes sense with the blue potatoes. But some of the other like product placement lists, it's probably not usual for someone to see in a first picture for someone.
And it wasn't even product placement as much as free community support. So all these companies just gave us stuff for free because they knew we were making a small movie, and they just all came on board to help us. And I mean, the farm family that we shot all the harvest scenes on, if you look for that name, LaJoie, in the credits, they're all like members of our crew. They're farmers.
Yeah.
Right.
But they were like natural born problem solvers, and anything we needed that build stuff, that do, that help us in any way.
Yeah, there were a few family names that kept repeating in the credits as well, and then your name keeps repeating over and over. I thought film was supposed to be a collaborative process.
Maybe I need to make up name for myself for editor or something. I don't know.
AKA Clint Eastwood.
Right, yeah.
So what is that for you? Like, why? Like, is that just a natural thing for you to take all those hats on, or?
Well, I think we did everything together, but I do come from an editing background. That was what I did in television news, was an editor. So I think part of it is budgetary, where I'm the cheapest editor we could find that is also competent, and it's hard to turn stuff over. I think a lot of times it would probably be easier and faster for me to step in and do that, because that's my background.
But DPing and music and all
I didn't do
we
that
did
though. We had a
that,
DP,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But I also think, because he comes from an editing background, the script, when we write it, is very much from an editor's perspective as well. Like, he'll go through and really tighten things up because he can see it visually of how he'd want to really edit it. I think that really helps us in the process too, of just writing a script and the way we work, that he does keep it, try to keep it as concise as possible.
Although you did shoot tons and tons of stuff outside of the script.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
How was that actually? How many hours did you end up with?
That's a good question. Yeah. But it did start feeling like a documentary in the editing room, where we really were kind of crafting the story from all this footage that we shot, and finding the story, because I think as well, when you bring the actors in, it became this whole new thing that
Is there going to be a 3-hour version and a director's
No. I think shorter is better.
Yeah.
If you could continue shooting everything in Maine, would you, given your experience there?
I think so. We love Maine, and that's the thing. There's, like you say, like you go to the coast of Maine, that's a whole different world than northern Maine. You go all around the state, and it's like you're in completely different worlds. So there's a lot of stories you could tell there that would be completely different, and you know, everything isn't, you know, a Stephen King horror movie. Yeah.
So I'll ask you and finish up with kind of a question that I asked the boys as well.
Who's the favorite?
Who's the favorite director? Yeah. No, if you have, what's your Corvette? What are you saving up for if you had something that was kind of that goal, that dream that either gave you an opportunity to go somewhere or delivered you the ultimate prize? What's that Corvette for you?
I thought that was Tiff.
we already got that. For me, it's just getting a chance to make another movie that's bigger in scope and a little bit more room to play with and stuff. But so for me, it's just taking another step to a bigger movie than.
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, I think for us, it's exactly the same. I think really we want to just keep honing our craft so that we can make a even better movie and bigger movie and scope of it, and just keep developing as filmmakers. We love telling stories. We want to tell it for the rest of our lives.
Happy working with him as a team?
You know, I think that was the biggest learning curve was...
You'll know if she's not. We'll have,
you'll know.
You'll hear the divorce.
No, it's actually been amazing figuring out a relationship with filmmaking. I think that's been such a learning process for us, and I think hopefully we get to grow in that process too. But it's not easy.
Yeah. Aidan, do you have a Corvette?
No, I mean, same kind of thing. Keep working, learn some stuff, get better.
Well, it seems to be going okay.
Yeah, it's going all right.
Well, thanks for spending a few minutes with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.